The sound you are hearing right now is the melody of the 21st century's greatest military nightmare. On one side, one of the world's largest armies with a budget of billions of dollars, on the other, a resistance movement writing history with plastic parts costing $500, assembled on kitchen tables and in garages. Today is December 20, 2025. In the Ukrainian steppes, it is no longer the roar of tank tracks that instills fear, but the buzz of the invisible masters of the sky. The armored divisions that Russian generals deemed impregnable are falling prey to cheap drones one by one. Not only the front lines of the war, but all its rules are being rewritten. This is the story of how an army, armed not only with weapons but also with artificial intelligence and engineering genius, cornered an entire empire. Are you ready to witness how those game-changing, little propeller-driven monsters, the FPV drones, turned Russia's steel giants into scrap heaps? Welcome to the new face of war, because now the sky is no different from a graveyard for the invaders. While watching the latest behind-the-scenes news and the war, you will realize that this resistance is an example of Ukraine's invisible power and that you are supporting it. The armored unit operations taking place across the Ukrainian steppes have been forced into a radical doctrinal shift as of late 2025. Raw footage and military reports from the field confirm that Russia's traditional armored doctrine has shattered against the FPV drone barrier. Specifically along the Donetsk and Luhansk fronts, the targeting of heavy armored vehicles on logistic supply routes has significantly halted the pace of the Russian offensive. At the core of these operations, FPV drone strikes lead not only to the destruction of tanks but also to their operational abandonment. A single precision hit to a tank's turret ring or engine grille renders multi-million-dollar systems combat ineffective. The asymmetric damage created on the battlefield has forced Russia to commit its strategic reserves much earlier than planned. The situation has reached an even more critical level in terms of logistics. By utilizing deep strike drones to target ammunition depots and logistical hubs inside Russia, Ukraine is severing the fuel and ammunition supply lines of Russian frontline units. Every operation where fuel tanker convoys are targeted by drone swarms completely paralyzes the mobility of armored units at the front. The phenomenon of Russian soldiers abandoning their vehicles to retreat into trenches is recorded as a direct consequence of severed logistical support and the persistent threat of aerial attack. Ukraine's resistance strategy is built entirely on technological adaptation. In regions where electronic warfare (EW) systems are heavily deployed, the continuous updating of drones with frequency-hopping software ensures that strikes proceed uninterrupted. The resilience observed in the field is not merely a physical defense, it is the real-time synchronization of engineering capabilities with military requirements. Russia's heavy defensive lines have transformed into strategic traps in the face of these low-cost yet high-precision devices. In this phase of the war, while the maneuver space for armored units is shrinking, Ukraine's drone-based defense and strike units continue to expand their operational reach. Each successful drone sortie does more than just tear away a piece of the Russian war machine, it renders the operational continuity of the occupying forces impossible. The fact that this operational continuity has become impossible causes Russia not only to suffer massive vehicle losses but also leads to the erosion of a military prestige built over decades. In this new equation, where tanks and armored vehicles have transformed into mobile coffins, the Russian command hierarchy faces a severe dilemma. They must either continue to sacrifice their units under this technological onslaught or abandon their entire offensive concept and retreat into defensive positions. However, Ukraine's drone capacity is now turning even static defensive lines into primary targets. Heavy drones of the Baba Yaga type, equipped with thermal cameras and capable of infiltrating the deepest points of trenches, along with agile FPV units, have turned into a war of psychological attrition for the Russian infantry. The sight of soldiers abandoning their vehicles to flee on foot is not merely a personal instinct for survival, it is the most concrete evidence of a massive army losing its systemic functionality. While the logistical and moral pillars that sustain a modern army are being blown apart in seconds by drones costing only a few $1,000s, Russia has yet to find an effective countermove against this asymmetric threat. Furthermore, Ukraine's strategy is triggering a global defense revolution. The autonomous strike systems being tested and proven successful in Ukrainian skies today are setting a new standard for the defense industries of Western allies. While Russia's traditional army struggles to adapt to this new order, Ukrainian engineers are deepening artificial intelligence integration every day, thereby reducing reliance on human operators. This progression keeps Russia's electronic warfare capabilities consistently one step behind, narrowing the occupying forces' field of maneuver by the hour. It is no longer just a matter of territorial gain, it is the push of the Russian war machine into a state that is technologically and logistically completely unsustainable. Every successful Ukrainian sortie is etched into history as an irreparable cost and a moral collapse for the occupying power. This systemic collapse is becoming more visible every day in the shifting geography of the conflict. The war is no longer confined to the static trenches of the Donbas. It has evolved into a strategic, rear-line hunt, targeting the energy infrastructure and refinery networks that finance the Kremlin's war chest. Ukraine's long-range strike drones have created a strategic overextension that Moscow's air defense system simply cannot cover, forcing Russia to choose between protecting its frontline assets and defending its domestic economic hubs. As we look toward the final phase of this campaign, the integration of swarm intelligence represents the next major leap. We are moving past the era where a single pilot controls a single drone. The battlefield of the near future will witness interconnected drone swarms that communicate with one another, autonomously identify targets, and distribute strike roles among themselves. For the Russian occupier, this means the threat is no longer a single point of impact, but an all-encompassing cloud of precision strikes. On a strategic level, this technological superiority has completely severed Russia's traditional logistical chain. Every type of supply vehicle, from ammunition trucks to fuel tankers, is being neutralized by these smart hunters before they can even reach the front. This is effectively the severing of a modern army's nervous system. The footage of soldiers abandoning their vehicles and fleeing on foot is not just a sign of fear, it is proof of a system that can no longer feed or protect its soldiers. Ultimately, Ukraine's drone revolution has achieved what conventional diplomacy could not. It has made the cost of occupation exponentially higher than the value of any captured territory. The era of massed tank charges has officially ended, buried under the weight of innovative engineering and the unbreakable will of a nation that refused to be outgunned. The Ukrainian steppes have transformed into a historical laboratory where lumbering imperial ambitions are defeated by modern technology. This technological transformation is shaking not only the tools of war but also the global security architecture to its core. This asymmetric success by Ukraine is being studied today as a case analysis in every military headquarters from the Pentagon to Beijing. The cumbersome structure of traditional military doctrines, built on numerical superiority and firepower, is being replaced by the triangle of speed, data, and cheap but effective technology. Russia's response to this new generation of siege consists merely of consuming resources at a faster rate. With every new wave of attack, we see thousands of tons of steel rendered helpless against a few kilograms of plastic and a well-written algorithm. This situation has brought not only the production capacity of the Russian defense industry but also its engineering philosophy to the brink of bankruptcy. While occupying forces try to deploy more air defense systems to stop the drones, each of these systems becomes nothing more than a target itself. With the severing of logistical lines, the isolation experienced by soldiers at the front is not just physical, but strategic. An army's offensive stops when it runs out of ammunition, but an army collapses when its morale and technological confidence are gone. The scenes of retreat we are witnessing on the Ukrainian battlefield today are the first signal flares of this massive systemic collapse. A Russian infantryman waiting in his trench now has to account for not only Ukrainian artillery but also that small, propped, smart killer that can appear above him at any moment, undetected by any radar. In conclusion, when this war ends, the world will be a different place. This new form of warfare, tested on the steppes of Ukraine, has taught the entire world where defense budgets will be spent, how armies will be trained, and most importantly, how a nation can use technology as a shield to protect its freedom. The inevitable end for the occupiers draws closer with every drone sortie, a Russia destined to go down in history as the first technological defeat of the modern era, and a Ukraine rising from its ashes, its software, and its unwavering will. This technological storm in the skies over Ukraine is not only halting an invasion, it is rewriting everything we know. So, do you think the era of tanks is completely over, or is this just the beginning? Share your views in the comments and be part of this strategic discussion. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep up with the changing face of war and the hottest analyses from the field. We'll see together whose side the sky is on. Until our next special report, take care.